the last type of multiplying with polynomials we need to talk about is multiplying polynomials by polynomials. So the first two examples we just had a monomial times a polynomial. Now we're going to talk about polynomials times polynomials. So the first example that you saw in your notes with polynomials by polynomials was actually multiplying two binomials. Who can remind me what a binomial is? Binomial, Brianna? Okay, yeah, so a two-term expression or an expression that has two monomials within it. So in this example, we had a binomial of x minus 5, and then we had a binomial of x plus 7. Now, the good thing about multiplying a binomial by binomial is we have a simpler method called the FOIL method.
Ooh, I know that method.
Yes, you should have read about it in your notes. So the FOIL method stands for, first, you multiply the first terms. So x times x gets us x squared. Then you multiply the outside terms. So x times 7 gets us 7x. Then you multiply the inside terms. Negative 5 times x gets us negative 5x. And then you multiply the last two terms. Negative 5 times 7 gets us negative 35. So FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. Now this only works when you're multiplying a binomial times a binomial. Why? Because if you're multiplying by trinomial, there's going to be that missing term in the middle that doesn't fit in any of these multiplication sections here. So, am I done?
No.
No. Why not, Nick?
Because you have to add like terms.
What are my like terms?
7x and 5x, or negative 5x.
Good save there, Nick. So 7x and negative 5x. So my final answer, Nick?
Is x squared plus 2x minus 35.
Nice. So FOIL method's pretty easy to use. Wouldn't you agree? So again, the only bad thing about the FOIL method, you can only use it binomial times binomial. And there was an example on your handout, the second example, which was 4b, that looked like this. 2y plus 3 times 6y minus 7. So if you followed the same FOIL method, first, outside, inside, last, first would have gotten you 12y squared, outside would have gotten you minus 14y, inside would have gotten you plus 18y, and last would be minus 21. When you simplify your like terms here, you would have ended up with 12y squared plus 4y minus 21. Questions on foiling? All right, so the last example was a binomial times a polynomial. And yes, this is where it gets a little more confusing, so let's make sure we're paying attention here. So, example 5. We have a binomial, 4x plus 9, and a trinomial, so times 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. Now I'm going to show you two different methods to do this, and it's totally your choice what you prefer. So let me get through both, and then you can choose. So option 1. Option 1 is to take your binomial, and you are going to distribute it each term. Okay? So the first term in your binomial is 4x. Everyone with me? So you're going to take your 4x, and you're going to distribute it to your trinomial. And then you're going to take the second term in your binomial, plus 9, and you're going to distribute that to your trinomial. So that should look very similar, actually, to the example we did multiplying a monomial by a polynomial, right? Yeah. So you do exactly the same thing we did before. So 4x times 2x squared gets you 8x cubed. 4x times negative 5x gets you negative 20x squared. 4x times 3 gets you 12x. 9 times 2x squared gets you 18x squared. 9 times negative 5x minus 45x, and 9 times 3 is 27. All that's left is add our like terms together. So we have negative 20x squared and 18x squared. We've got 12x and negative 45x. When we add it all together, we end up with 8x cubed minus 2x squared minus 33x plus 27. And that would be your final answer. Okay, so that's option 1. Option 2 is you are just going to use distributing. So option 2 is just going to look like this. You're doing the same thing, only how you show your work is different. So it's up to you if you can show your work this way or not. So to work with option 2, I'm going to use my arrows. So I'm going to say I'm distributing 4x to all 3 of these terms. I know 4x times 2 squared is 8x cubed. I know 4x times negative 5x is negative 20x squared. I know 4x times 3 is 12x. And then you go with the same thing on the bottom. 9 times 2x squared is 18x squared. And so on. And then when you simplify it, it's going to simplify just like we did for option 1. The only difference is you're kind of doing this step in your head with option 2. So if you're someone that knows you make mistakes when you're distributing, what option is better for you? 1. If you are someone that is 100% confident distributing is not a problem for you, you can go ahead and try number 2.